I was like, well, sure, I could probably figure that out.
And you're like, wait a minute, somebody's going to pay me for this? Like, whoa.
This is going to be a lot more than the 50 cents for the.
That's awesome.
And that kind of was the first time I got paid to make a website.
Welcome to the Hucklearos podcast with special guest Steve Smith of Perdix Software.
Hello, welcome to Hucklearos. This is being recorded at the world famous Next Core Studios in downtown Rochester in the historic Sibley's building. I'm here with Steve Smith of Perdix Software today, and I'm really excited to kind of get into it with you. We've had some opportunities to have some small talk at some of the mixers and everything like that, and I thought you had some really interesting stories about how you actually started being an entrepreneur at a pretty young age. So let's
talk about that. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, so I got started in entrepreneurship probably when I was 7 or 8. My cousin and I would play down my grandma's basement every Sunday when we'd have family dinner over there, and started realizing that we could do stuff and then we could charge our family, 25 cents admission to come to our arcade or to come to our haunted house. We had a haunted house every year. We'd put up blankets and cardboard and make walls, and we'd set up displays, and we'd wear costumes and try to scare our uncles and whatever. And, we made a couple dollars every year off the haunted house, just enough to pay for the fake spider web stuff and whatever.
Sure. The margins were tight.
Yeah. And, throughout that time, I also learned how to program. I went to a class at the Rochester Museum and Science Center and learned how to program on an Apple IIe.
Interesting.
And then I came home and I asked my dad, hey, how do I run BASIC? He's like, well, we don't have an Apple IIe. We have an IBM compatible. And so there's a program on here called QBasic that has almost the same syntax as Apple BASIC, and kind of learned a little bit on how to do that, wrote some fun little programs, and then got into web development, started programming.
And what age? This was around
around age 10 was the web stuff. And I was just making little personal web page for myself, taking screenshots of my favorite games and putting them up there and whatever. And then
you were taking screenshots like at that level of the internet.
Yeah, of course.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I played a lot of Myst in the days, and lots of screenshots of Myst and my opinions on how the game was supposed to be played or whatever.
Are any of those sites still up?
I hope not.
Okay, it'll be cool. Like we'll drop them in the comments. Check out the old school Myst site.
Yeah, but what that really led to was we got a new next door neighbor around that time, and he has a construction company, and he's like, oh, you make websites. I need a new website. Do you think you could make a website for my business? And I was like, well, sure, I could probably figure that out.
Again, you're like, wait a minute, somebody's going to pay me for this? Like, whoa.
This is going to be a lot more than the 50 cents for the haunted house.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that kind of was the first time I got paid to make a website. Did some audio production work for Kodak back in the day when I was like 12.
How did you land that project?
So somebody at church was in charge of employee recreation over there, and they wanted to pay people to show up early and do stretching and things before their shifts to prevent repetitive stress injuries. And
interesting.
She knew that I dabbled in audio, and was like, can you dub tapes? And I was like, yeah, I could dub tapes. And then of course I figured out what she was talking about. Luckily we had a deck. My dad had a deck in the basement that we could dub tapes on.
And when was it reel to reel or was it cassette tape?
Cassette tape.
Oh, so it was like old boombox where you'd press play and then play record on the other, and
it was a higher end.
Yeah, a little bit better.
Similar.
Not the old school where you just I'm making a mixtape or I'm just copying the tape. Yeah.
So I dubbed I think the order was for 10 cassettes and 10 CDs. So CDs were easy because we had a CD burner and I could make little labels and put them
digital.
On. But the cassettes, that was all new to me. I had to learn what's a J card and how do I make a J card? And
Okay. What is a J card?
That's a little cardboard thing that goes in, it's shaped like a
J.
J.
Okay.
So get a template for those. And then, well, you're buying a tape at Radio Shack or whatever, and it's 90 minutes long. Well,
R.I.P. Radio Shack.
Exactly. Well, so my program was only 6 minutes long. So what do I do with the rest of the tape? So then it was like I learned how to take apart the cassette tape and use a razor blade to cut off the blank tape and make them exactly the right length and everything. So,
wow. So it would be the tight production of that. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't be sitting through whatever 35 minutes or I don't even know if they were like 90-minute.
They were just whatever I got at the store.
Yeah. So let's say there's like 20 some odd minutes left on it, and it would just be like dead air. Mm-hmm. So you actually were splicing that and putting it back in.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty wild. And that was a paid gig too?
Yeah, that was just freelance 1099 stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of I didn't know how to send an invoice, right? And so I just told the woman at church, hey, the work is done. Here's the tapes. And then like I heard nothing for like months, and I was like, are you guys ever going to pay me? She's like, you going to send me an invoice? I was like, what's an invoice? That was like my first real business lesson.
Yeah.
Of like,
well, it's kind of cool that she was like, well, yeah, so it was actual like coming out of Kodak's budget. It wasn't like so she's like, yeah, I need an invoice. Like we need to set you up as a like a merchant, right? Mm-hmm. Like get a purchase order, or how do you remember that?
There was a purchase order, and then I had to generate. I used like Microsoft Works to make an invoice. It was it's cool. Invoice number 1. But yeah, that was like my first big gig. Was making those tapes and CDs, and then website for my neighbor's construction business, and then
I was gonna say he had the construction business, and then what was that built in, and where were you hosting it?
That was, I believe, just plain old HTML.
Okay.
There might have been like some PHP to pop in a header and a footer or something like this, but nothing programmy about it. It was a marketing website.
Yeah. And were you hosting it? Like, did you have your own server, or were you putting it on a service?
I got it was a company called Pro Hosters that. They were able to take a check.
Oh, nice.
And then they would provision the account for a year or something. So like I sent them, my money. I didn't have to ask Dad to put it on his card and reimburse him or whatever. It was like, this is a real business expense.
So you had a checking account at that young age, and
when I was, a teenager.
Yeah. And you're like filing taxes, and like, cause they're giving you, wow, that's, or were you doing it like under a DBA, or did you?
I was a DBA.
Yeah, DBA.
Yeah, Stephen Smith Enterprises.
Yeah, and then so you learned the pain of like paying taxes at her age as well too.
Yeah,
it's another good lesson.
I didn't make enough to have to file taxes, but
of course,
if you do, you get the taxes you paid back. So
for sure,
as well,
for sure. So but you'd rather have it than like loan it to. Then loan it until April, or until you have to file.
Yeah.
So there's two things that are like sticking out. Is like one, the entrepreneurial bug kind of found you early, and from an early age, you're also like rather technical. I can't say there was many people that I knew growing up that were versed in those elements of and being able to create a website and also do audio production and be splicing. Like, you didn't know, you taught yourself, or did you have some guidance on splicing and learning the audio engineering?
A lot of it was self-taught, but it was self-taught because I had the freedom as a child to teach myself, and I had the resources, and I had two very smart parents. One, my father is a chemical engineer, and my father was a teacher, and she taught computer class.
Oh, your mother was a teacher, your father.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm their son, right? I'm the product of a chemical engineer and a computer teacher. And so, my parents.
I see. This is like a bit of foreshadowing almost in a way.
So, so my parents set up our house kind of like a Montessori school.
Right on.
All of the activities were in various bins, and it was like whenever I was playing, I knew I could play with anything that was around. And my father had a synthesizer, and my mother had woodworking equipment, and I would go into fifth grade and we'd have some project, and I'd show up with something that was like made out of wood, and I used a bandsaw for it, and it was like, who did your project for you? And
Oh yeah, right. Like who did it?
Well, my parents were supervising me using the bandsaw, but I used the bandsaw myself. And
oh my god.
So I was fortunate to have like a lot of stuff in the house that is not typical to have in a house.
Yeah.
Like a drill press and a soldering iron. And, I had parents who were curious and who were able to instill that in me.
That's really cool. It's also, we've done a couple of these episodes so far, and that's been a trend, is that there's always been some kind of parental figure that's helped in at least a couple cases to nurture and flourish under that direction or support or guidance. So that's a very cool. And I'm seeing that as like almost like a trend, is that having supportive parents that are curious or supportive really are. So it sounds like, I mean, it's a small sample size, but it seems like there's some bedrock there for that constitutes cultivating that entrepreneurial spirit. And, it's obviously lasted into your adulthood. So what was the rest of your teens like in that era of, you're getting some jobs and, had the checking account, right? Like,
I just sort of continued exploring opportunities in high school. I went to McQuaid, and I was the vice president of the computer club, and I was in the jazz ensemble and the percussion ensemble, and involved in the campus ministry program. And I was just trying to get as much broad exposure in as many different areas as possible.
Yeah.
And so that led me to going to get my degree in music.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've played the piano since I was in kindergarten, and it's just sort of it fits my brain the same way that the technology does.
Nice. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Nazareth College. No, it's Nazareth University, but
Nazareth
when University. I went there,
shout
it was
out
Nazareth College.
Shout out Nazareth. Okay.
Yeah. Great school.
Right on.
And and I learned a lot about music and about life there.
Do you? So you still play the piano?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a daily habit or okay? Yeah, I was going to say,
it's just a function of time.
A function of time, sure.
Focusing really hard on sales and business development for MOLI right now. So I haven't had a lot of time to play the piano or to read or to do some of the other fun things I enjoy doing. But I play the piano when I can. I'll fill in. I'm on various lists to be like an on-call substitute for different churches and so on.
Oh, right on.
So it's if I want to get up at 7:00 on a Sunday morning, there's
some availabilities. you can get some gigs. You get some Sunday morning gigs, and keep fresh with the practice.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting, because if you were like, Mike, guess what I majored in college, I would have said like engineering, computer science, or like physics, because of what you're building here. And I can't wait to talk about Perdix and MOLI. But that's really interesting that you chose piano. And was it a performance major, or was it a lot of theory, or what was that curriculum like?
I went in as a music education major.
Music education. Okay.
I had some very good music teachers, and I wanted to be like them. And the more that I learned about what being a music educator was actually like, in many places you have to basically fight to justify your position every year. It's like the first thing they want to cut.
The first thing
is music, and
before the sports and before the orchestra and
so you're sitting there making 40 grand a year, and then they're telling you they want to cut your position to save money, and I'm like, I really don't want to be a part of that. I thought I did, but it's hard enough doing it, let alone having to justify your own existence to administrators and so on. So,
and you can't really recover from that. If you were in that situation, you would really have to uproot and move, most likely, to take an available position, because there's only so many. It's a finite positions available.
Yeah, there's only so many school districts, and there's a lot of music education graduates.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. At the end of freshman year, we had to write here's my philosophy of education, and it was a whole dissertation, and mine was about why I do not want to be a music teacher any longer.
No, get out. What was the?
And I got an A.
Okay, I was gonna say, what's your reaction? You got an A.
Because the reasons that I articulated were resonated very strongly with the professor. She's like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah, you're right. Like, give this to everyone else. Like, I'm out of a job now because you can't teach anymore. Wow. So you got out of the music education program, and then what was the?
So I continued in music. I got a Bachelor of Arts in music rather than a Bachelor of Music in music ed.
Okay.
And I focused on theory and composition, and I continued to take some of the music ed classes, because one of the things they make you do as a music ed major is take a semester of every instrument in the orchestra. So I wanted to have that capability to just pick up, some mallets and hit a timpani the right way and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I also picked up a minor, which was technical writing and communication.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a pivotal moment for me, was adding that minor. That minor required an internship. And so I got a job writing copy for message on hold telephone systems.
Yes.
When
cool.
I was
you got to explain what that is, because
so you call up a lot of our customers were doctors' offices and nursing homes, but we had all different types of businesses, and you call them up and they put you on hold, and there was a 8-minute audio program that would be refreshed as often as every month, depending on the level of service that company had with us. And we would write a script. It would be voiced with 2 voices. One would do sort of the sentences about the business, and one would do kind of the courtesies, like, "Hey, your call is important, please wait." We'd put that all into an audio program, and then it would get uploaded to these players that were installed in the field. So when you call up the doctor's office and they put you on hold, there's a fresh audio program that explains whatever's going on that month.
Cool. So, and that production, were they doing reel to reel, or was it digital?
It was all digital.
It was all digital at that moment. I know that because I majored in production and did a lot of video production in college, and it was in that transitory time where they were going from, I learned to edit reel to reel video, and talk about tedious, you're putting, okay, this is the in point and then this is the out point, and the tapes would rewind and move around, and then if you were off by, it would lay it to the master tape.
Yep.
And then you'd have to go back and look at it. It's like, oh, that's screwed up. You gotta do it all over again.
Linear editing.
Very, very linear. But it became digital rather quickly. That didn't last for too long. But they still, I think there was still a sense of, hey, you should know how to do it in the analog way, because you're going to understand what the work is and how much a cut means and where to look for it.
Yeah.
So I think there was some value in that, even though it's, I'm not even really editing this podcast now, as everything's digital AI. It's doing 90% of the work for you.
You got to pull it into Premiere or something. And
no, No, I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because it's like I don't have to spend like 8 hours of post-production.
Yeah.
And and I was saying I was saying to somebody, I'm like, I'm the like the Ed Wood of podcasts. It was like, it has to like print it, like run it, so I'm being a little, I'm having some carried details, but the conversation is really the output and the clips.
Well, it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I just made some videos for MOLI, and I did them all in one take.
Oh, okay.
No editing. And I was able to do that only because of things like OBS and the Stream Deck.
Yeah.
And I had all my scenes preloaded in the Stream Deck. One scene was just me with a lower third. One scene was off the capture card from the kiosk. One scene was off my browser, and one scene was Excel, and all the different parts of my videos. And then I would just punch them up. I would just hot punch him on the Stream Deck, and
like the lower thirds and the and the graphics and everything.
And I made
complete
videos without having to do a single edit.
Talk about let's do it live. Like that's some old school like in camera editing style. I like that. And what were these videos for?
Oh, so they're on our website. They're just explainer videos about each feature.
Okay.
So like the escalations feature was fun because that has a phone patch involved in the video, because it calls people on the phone. So I wanted to illustrate that. So, one of my OBS inputs was a second sound card that I wired into a phone so I could answer it. And
nice. So it's like doing like a live demo. Really.
Yeah, I felt like I was in a TV.
You're like
studio.
orchestrating it. You're orchestrating. Well, yeah, you could do it in here too. It's like some. You can use these lights.
Got the egg cartons on the wall and everything.
That's good for sound. I mean, and so that is like a really interesting service, and it's a business that it's got to change. It must have changed, because how many people are still buying those programs for on hold?
Yeah.
Is it
to my understanding, they still have hundreds of customers.
Wow.
So
that's sticky. It's
very sticky. The phone systems are ancient technology.
Yeah.
And so even if you buy a new one, it's going to interface with an audio player the same way.
Yeah.
They may have a built-in audio player. Some of the phone systems we were seeing back then in 2006 had the capability to upload an MP3 or something directly and not have to use our player. So we would just deliver.
So it could just be, and you could do it with the VoIP or whatever system that everything's going.
Well, that's the other thing. So when I was working there were like 4 ways to deliver content to the players. Some of them used tapes. Then there were the MP3 ones that used a flash drive. And then there was the ones that we had to like dial into and upload the file to over a modem or something. I don't know how it all worked. Wow. I didn't do the delivery, but yeah, there were it was in transition.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, because I would think just that something like that would maybe go the way of the phone yellow pages or something like that because of technology. Yeah. So that's really actually super interesting that it's still there.
Well, the value is the content.
The value is the content, and you were doing the copywriting, so you would have to come up in technical writing for like doctors' offices and other service-based businesses.
Yeah, like a lot of it was nursing homes. So they would send us their calendar, their activities calendar, and they would send us their menu for the month, and then we would say, on June 14th, make sure you check out so and so who's playing the piano in the lounge, and don't forget,
check out Steve Smith on piano.
Exactly, it's chicken fricassee night.
Yes. Yeah.
The number of nursing homes, let me tell you, that are quaintly nestled someplace or another, and that work to preserve the dignity of the whole person. That is like every.
Yeah. Well,
there's certain key phrases we put into the copy.
Man. Yeah, of course. It's and with the rates they're charged, they could definitely afford those the monthly subscription to that.
But so that job pivoted me into doing websites and like hardcore. So after my writing internship there, they started realizing that I could do some other things. And the first indication was, hey, Steve, can you fix my printer?
Oh,
And I
fun.
was like, uh-oh.
I know where this is going. You know?
But that turned into, hey, we're moving. Can you call around and get us a better offer on our ISDN line? Right, because the recording studios had ISDN lines, so you could voice over, people could call in and have a high quality recording, and so trying to get an ISDN line in the early 2000s for voice,
that's not many.
I learned a lot about
because you don't have like the infrastructure, I imagine, or just running one of those lines is probably at that moment.
And the phone company doesn't want to run the lines because they cost a lot of money.
So you're paying a huge bill.
You tell them we're going to use this for voice, and they're like, I thought this was for data. It's just but so long story short, I made 24 websites when I worked there. After my writing internship, I became the internet marketing coordinator, had 24 websites under management. The art director would mock it up in Photoshop, and then I would take that and make it into a website.
Take the layered files and basically write it in HTML or
HTML, a little bit of PHP. Sites were getting more complicated then. Might be some JavaScript to rotate images or something like that.
Flash.
Oh,
you
God,
ever use Flash?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, that was big.
That was a pain because Internet Explorer 6 or 5.5, one of these, there was a patent dispute, and so we went to work one day, and suddenly all of our websites didn't work because part of the patent, the settlement was Microsoft you had to click to activate a Flash control.
And I remember that.
We were using them for menus and stuff, and so people would have to click twice on the menu to load it.
Talk about a headache. And it's like, then you have to rewrite all of the code at that point, or
there were all sorts of crazy workarounds, and it was
different browser compatibility.
Because you had to support so many different browsers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we do now, it's like we just target supported versions of Chrome and Firefox, and
right,
and
it's all responsive design. It's like, because I even remember you had to design for mobile, or you'd have a mobile version of the website, and it was just and then still based on the screen size, and it was still a real, sometimes it was a guessing game, or you throw something up there that, hey, you just gotta test it out, see if this one works, see if this image will work on that frame. Wow.
So after Market Hold, I went back to Nazareth. They had a job opening for a web developer, and I applied, and they were like, well, you went here, so we'll at least give you an interview, even though your degree has nothing to do with the job. But I said the right things to the right people, apparently.
Well, and you have a really solid portfolio of 24 sites. It's like, okay, it's like, I think this will work. So what was your responsibilities there?
So I was the technical, I was the developer, the programmer for the web. The marketing department would set the messaging and do all of the content writing and so on. And then it was up to us to implement a content management system for all that to work with. And, we had old stuff that we were trying to transition to new stuff. And we had 100 different content authors all throughout the college that had to be trained and retrained and helped. And
what was the CMS you were using? What was the content management?
So when I started, it was Macromedia Contribute with Dreamweaver.
Wow.
So the power users used Dreamweaver, and then secretaries or whoever just had to do a quick content would do Contribute. But we were switching it to a thing called Plone.
I'm not familiar. No.
Plone is a very old content management system. It's been around for 20 something years, written in Python, and it's rock solid. It has one of the best security track records of any CMS.
Okay, awesome.
But it's a little esoteric,
right?
And so, having to learn that on my own, and they sent me to some classes, but they sent me to classes after I had a deliverable. So it
Oh,
was like, okay, well,
fun times. Yeah.
but it was
Better late than never.
it was a good system to work with. And we also started creating some web applications. So we had like the content side of the web that was all about the college and the admissions process, and there were some forms and things. But then there were web applications like the faculty staff directory, or the chemical tracker database for chemistry department, or the faculty elections voting system, or the who knows, right?
Yeah.
Ancient
Yeah.
history. But
There's probably always something. There's always another project, always another update. Well, if you had to guess, like how many pages were on the site, or how much did it grow? Like what was even just a rough estimate?
There were thousands of pages on the site. Probably about 24 web applications.
Wow.
Those we used a thing called Django to create.
Yeah.
And that's the framework that we still use.
Okay.
At
I was gonna say,
MOLI.
Django. That's modern as well too.
It's a high level framework for perfectionists with deadlines. They say on their website. So
oh, nice. Shout out Django. And so how long were you there? And then where is that where you made the jump into becoming a full-time entrepreneur, or what was the next step?
Yeah, so I was there for about 3.5 years. I joined a startup called Book Decay at the time, and that's where I met my co-founder Jake.
Okay.
So that was a startup. We were trying to basically make a ratemyprofessors.com for how professors use textbooks in classes, so that students can make a decision about whether or not they want to buy the book at all, or if they can share the book with a friend and save some money, or so it was a student forum for people to. You could add books and classes, and this professor never cracked the book once and never gave us any reading out of it. So save the $300.
Save the $300. Talk about a valuable resource for a college kid. Yeah,
we had a used textbook marketplace on there and some affiliate marketing programs. Didn't end up being a success for a variety of reasons, but it brought us together as co-founders.
Sweet.
And at that time, I was also working at a very well-funded startup called Mykonos Software.
Okay.
So that was right after Nazareth. I joined that team. A month after I joined that team, there was an acquisition.
Okay.
It was very fortunate that I joined at that particular
time.
But
that's like a great times. But I mean, did you get a share in that?
I got to participate in the upside a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey.
And then they gave us all jobs at Juniper Networks, the acquiring company.
Nice.
So it worked there for 3 years, and then they laid off the whole team, and then that was sort of our.
Was that the earnout period, or
it was a 3-year earnout?
Okay.
And they were going to, they wanted to keep us longer, but there was executive leadership change. Long story short, there were 3 business units in the company. Security, switching, and routing, I want to say.
Okay.
And the new CEO said, I want to be more holistic about this. Let's take security business unit and just sort of merge it into the other 2 business units and be, switching and routing. And so any products that were a pure security play like ours were canceled or divested or whatever.
Makes sense. Yeah. That's comes with the territory.
Yep.
But sounds like that was a good ride though.
Yeah, it was a great ride. Yeah. And that was what enabled me to start working on MOLI full time. I had some severance pay. I had some stock options that I could live on for a little while, and I had time.
Yeah. You had some runway that you could self-fund. And so did you immediately make that decision, or was it like when you had it was like, oh, I'm doing this, or did you evaluate it and look for other things? What was that process like to making that transition once you knew with Juniper Networks that was going away?
So they came in November to tell us that in February we would no longer have jobs.
Okay.
And they said you can work on other stuff in the meantime. You can apply for other jobs in the meantime. And here's a list of open jobs at Juniper. So we'd like to, if you want to continue working for us, we'd love to have you. It's not about you, it's about the product.
Right.
And so I looked at some of the jobs that were on offer, and they just didn't seem to be the right fit. A number of them would have required moving to Sunnyvale. I wasn't looking to do that at that time. And so it wasn't a hard decision to decide to focus on entrepreneurship. I figured it was then or never.
And you already done the other startup with Book Decay, which that's actually really interesting story in of itself.
Yeah,
it
was a fun site.
I want to, if we can, just back up to that for a second. Where did that idea come from, and what was the genesis of Book Decay?
Well, so that was my co-founder Jake and our other co-founder from that startup, Rocco, and they saw this problem in the marketplace and had approached me to be the CTO.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they've identified the opportunity, the market space, and the goal was to be the Rate My Professor of college books. And at that time, in that time span, was Rate My Professor as big as it was in that that era of the internet?
It was one of those things that like everybody sort of knew existed and would go there when they needed to, but it wasn't like super hot.
Yeah. It's like, because it's like, that's really seasonal, right? You're looking at that when you're picking your classes, right, and you're doing your scheduling. Right. And I guess, but I could see that as Book Decay being a really good synergistic with that. It's like, oh, you're going to take this class with this professor. Here's what he does with the book. And you can decide, oh, and it's worth getting. Here's the used book marketplace. Yeah.
It was really nicely integrated. We had some issues with bringing it to market.
Yeah. But it sounds like that experience maybe informed you post Juniper Networks to, and you repaired with the one business partner from Book Decay. And so tell me, how did Perdix Software and MOLI start?
So that was, again, my co-founder, Jake, had just purchased a business, manufacturing business. They make arc flash clothing for electricians.
Okay.
So it's specialized PPE for people that might end up in a situation where there's an electrical explosion in their face. And so he has a number of proprietary products. He has a patent on a ventilated hood system, for example, so that after that explosion happens, you can preserve the clean, cool air that's inside the hood, and the fan is not blowing all that crap into your hood now.
Okay.
So he has some technology around turning off the fan when the arc flash happens.
Okay.
And he's also got, your standard bib overalls, coveralls, pants, anything that you need to cover your body to be safe.
And so he purchased that business here in the Rochester area and took ownership of the patents and all the IP.
He developed the IP.
Oh, he developed the IP.
Yeah, the business that he bought was essentially a contract sewing outfit that had a little bit of a specialization in arc flash. And he really took it and said, we're going to be arc flash, and we're going to elevate this and add technology to it. And
oh, wow. That's really cool. That's really cool.
So he had some challenges in that business. It was like, I gotta print labels that have to go on these garments, and they have to have different temperatures for washing the fabric depending on what fabric it is, and we have to keep track of what roll of fabric was used to make this safety equipment. And so that was like the first piece of it was, let's make a label maker, right?
Okay.
Let's make a thing where you can put in a part number, 40 Alt JK XL for private label customer, whoever. And so the system would parse that out and say, that's a 40 cal ultralight jacket, extra large. And then it would know, okay, well, that's made up of this fabric and this fabric. So I have to put those lot numbers on the label and use this washing temperature and so on.
And that would all go on, so as programmed to be put on the label, and it was coordinated so it was accurate.
Yep.
When all the garments were being produced.
So they would put in the quantity and of each type of garment, and then the system would generate a here's a list of all the stuff we have to make, and here's the labels for them, and then they would labels get heat pressed onto the back of the on the back of the jacket or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
always starts with
cool.
labels. The number of times in this business people have come to me and said, I need to print labels.
Yeah.
And then it turns out there's some little detail on the labels that ends up being backed up by 50,000 levels of data that you have to get just the right little thing to get the right little number on the label.
Yeah. So that process sounds like, because then it has to be, it's not just like, oh, you're printing a label. It's like there's a lot of logic and precision that has to be mapped out.
Yeah, the label is easy. Okay, we got to print some 30 of these on a sheet, whatever. But then
and like a heat press, it's the content and it's where it's how do you automate that and make it efficient,
right?
So it's going on. So and what is the production line there? Like, what's that workflow look like? And then it interacts with the label maker, no matter what's running through, it's able to identify.
The labels come out of the office, the production office, and then they get sent out to the floor. It starts at the cutting machine, I should say. So the layout, this much layers of fabric on the cutting table, and then the machine goes and cuts them out using a blade. Tried different things. We were experimenting with using a laser and all kinds of crazy things.
Oh, wow.
But the blade is really the tried and true method for cutting fabric.
Okay, cool.
And then those pieces go into bins. They get sent to one of the sewers, and that in that particular factory, and in most sewing factories, each machine operator has their own sort of, it's my sewing machine, and it's a straight sewing machine.
Okay.
And then for different operations like serging or cutting buttonholes or whatever, you have specialized machines for those that are away from your sort of home machine.
Yeah.
But depending on the operations that are involved in the garment, it might go through 4, 5, 6 machines.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did the laser experiment last for?
Like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was like at least we try. We're gonna bring in freaking lasers.
We didn't bring them in. We looked into it.
Oh, okay. I'm picturing like it's on the table, and it's like something out of like Austin Powers or like some cheesy movie. It's like, oh, okay, stop the lasers. Yeah. But okay.
Well, that was sort of like, so one of our MOLI customers has a process that we are intimately involved with that creates files for a laser cutter for their product. And I found out that the laser cutter uses the exact same file format as Jake's blade cutter.
Okay.
So that was sort of the start of it.
It's like, why not try this? Yeah. Okay. That's wild. And so Jake has this thing going on, and you're assisting him with those production challenges or problems, or what those things arise. And is that the kernel, or what started Perdix software? And I guess you have to explain MOLI and Perdix software.
Sure. So that was the kernel of it. Like I said, it always starts with labels. And we realized, though, that we needed a larger customer. We needed somebody who was able to fund this to a level where somebody could work on it for mostly full time. And so we set out to find a customer that had a larger problem and therefore more interest in solving it, and therefore more capital to solve it. And so what MOLI is we work with manufacturers and regulated industries to cut costs and improve efficiency on the production floor. We do that with a network of touchscreen kiosks that we install at each work center or machine location. And then those touchscreens will show the operators contextual information about the work that's going on. It'll show them all of the jobs that are in queue, the particular job they're working on, the work instructions for the item that they're working on in that job. Sometimes for different compliances, we have to keep records that the operator received a copy of the instructions. Other times they take an assessment on the instructions. Depends on the quality system that's in place. Operators then fill out their paperwork electronically on the screens.
Okay.
And then all that information can flow into and out of other systems that are in place in the factory, like an ERP system or a document management system. So frequently what happens is the jobs, work orders come out of an ERP system into MOLI. Then the operators work on them, do their work instructions, do their enter their part counts, good and bad parts, types of scrap, whatever. And then those numbers will feed back into that same system that originally gave us the job information. So we were able to get accurate part counts.
So it integrates into the existing workflow and is set to the needs of that customer at every step. And so you have different how would you say, implementations. And I guess, this is where I'll use this as my cheat sheet. We brought his just completed sales binder. So I'm going to use this as my cheat sheet.
So we've got probably 24, or maybe more than that now, different features that can be configured a bunch of different ways to create something that feels like custom software, but is in fact maintainable.
Okay. Yeah. And so let's just walk me through the implementation process. You've had, does it start with an audit of the systems and coming up with that whole diagram? Okay, this is where we're going to put these physical pieces of hardware, the touchscreen, and this is what needs to be programmed into it? Or what is that whole process?
Yeah, that's certainly a part of it, but that happens a little bit later in the process. We really want to figure out, okay, what are the main challenges that the factory is having? It's going to be a little different in every place. Most of the time when I walk in, I can see that there's going to be a fit with our ICP because they've got paper taped up on the side of a machine, right? Okay, that's a MOLI alert.
I see this. I'm going to show. This is like a before and after. And you can see before, it's like there's a whole workstation with papers and it looks like a bunch of diagrams. And then after, you can see this dude's really happy. He's got a whole touchscreen there, looks like.
Yeah, so that's over at one of our larger customers. They had podiums on the production floor, and those podiums had a couple of clipboards and a couple of binders. And that woman that's got it looks like she's got restaurant menus, and she's going to be your hostess.
Yeah,
she's the document controller, and so her job is anytime there's a new revision of instructions, she has to go out to every press and take the old instructions out and put the new ones in and collect all the paperwork. And then there's a team of people that had to enter those numbers into another system because it's all paper forms. And they're paper forms that were filled out by 8 different people. So, trying to decipher all that handwriting and, okay, is that a 3 or an 8 or somebody forgot to sign their name or write the date and time or
something goes. I mean, if it's loose paper, it can go missing.
Absolutely.
And,
blows under the machine.
Yeah. And then you don't know if it's changed or is it the same, right?
A lot of machine shops, the paper, it gets covered in oil and coolant, and then you got to bring that to the office to try to enter it into a system that's smudged. So lots of challenges around paper, and so I can usually tell right away when I walk in that it's going to be a fit because they're doing a very good job, but they're doing it entirely on paper, and there's all these little documentation problems that can creep in. And then there's big problems that can creep in if you run the part with the wrong documentation. So we usually find that's the biggest challenge, and customers will self-identify frequently. They'll say, we're taking so much time to do all this. We had an audit last week, and there was a finding because somebody crossed something out and didn't initial it, or
wow.
And so you're able to very, very quickly narrow in on like what's that particular customer's hot button issue out of the 12 or so issues that we can help with. And then frequently there's other issues that are coterminous with the main issue, and we're able to kind of put together a solution that, like I said, feels like custom software, but is made up of repeatable pieces.
Repeatable pieces based on the use case, because that's each customer has to have some different specifications. So it is a rather customized and specialized onboarding, and it isn't cookie cutter in the sense but the software is modular, that what you're building it with the needs, and this goes here, and you're implementing those systems.
Yeah, it's software as a service, but it's software with services.
Yeah.
We would never just sort of set up a blank one and say, go to town.
Yeah. Or here, you just got to upload this stuff and map everything out. And that's, you've built the software to do it.
So we'll sit down with representatives of the team and we'll say, okay, show us what your work instructions look like currently. And they'll have 5 or 6 examples. And then we'll go and we'll create a template in MOLI that they can use to build work instructions that look like those.
Yeah.
And to make sure you always have a consistent, and it's based on what they gave me, right? It's a template that is their template. So oftentimes the transition isn't even that great, because we're using, if we're digitizing a form, we're going to use, and it's on blue paper, we're going to call it the blue sheet in MOLI.
Yeah.
Because everyone calls it the blue sheet. We're not going to come in and change that.
Yeah.
It's still blue.
Just color code it, make it blue. And this is, and I'm on just the first page, and I'm like, okay, this is a lot of attention to detail. And where does the name Perdix software come from? Because MOLI is your application. That's the service and software, hardware, the whole package that you're selling into these the contract and regulated manufacturing companies. Where does Perdix software come in? Is that your...
Yeah, so MOLI is the product, multi-operation lean intelligence system. Perdix software is the company that develops, commercializes, and supports MOLI.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
got it. So that's the distinction. So it's MOLI by Perdix software.
Correct.
And what, because I'm looking at this and listening to you, it's actually reminded me of what's the guy? I was just listening to what's his face from Palantir speak. Do you know Alex Karp? Have you seen him?
Once or twice.
Yeah. Really, has that wild, zany CEO personality. He's talking in many different ways and has a lot of these, these big idea. But what was interesting about how he's saying it's in company's Palantir, right? So he's talking about forward deployed engineers, and that's really where those are the people that are deploying his systems and AI into manufacturers, where there's tribal knowledge that, like you're saying, this is the blue sheet, so this is where it goes. That's the stuff that you really need someone there that's human and not just like some AI input to be able to know what to do with it. And so that's that buzzword is like forward deployed engineers. And I see there's a lot of that same mentality in this. Is like you're coming in, you're learning all of that tribal knowledge from your customer, and then you're able to apply the solution, which is going to make their lives a lot easier. And that's the process of it.
It's sort of like I said earlier, my mother was a teacher, and my father is an engineer. I like to think of it as I learn their process and then I teach it back to them.
Yes. Okay. You're teaching it back to them, because I think that's...
and then making improvements along the way where to me it's obvious.
Right. Well, I think it's like, maybe that's something that you could almost borrow from that, is that, the FD, like, we have forward deployed engineers. We come to your floor and implement this process. And I think a lot of that is is really showcased here. This is a really impressive piece of work here for you.
Thanks.
And who is really seeking this in the marketplace now? Because you're working with local manufacturers mostly, or is it you can deploy this?
A couple in Rochester, one or two in Syracuse. We can deploy it anywhere, but
Right.
we're trying to stick with companies in, say a 3-hour drive of Rochester for the first few customers. Just easier for us to manage and deploy.
Absolutely.
But certainly as we grow, there's nothing in here that is restricted to Rochester or to New York.
It can fit into any plant or any manufacturing facility.
Anybody, especially if they're ISO 9001 or ISO 13485 or AS 9100 or any of these quality systems that demand documentation about training and compliance with documentation requirements and so forth. We would obviously need a little bit of review before we go international with it, but I can tell you everything in the system is translatable.
Yeah.
So we've already thought ahead about how we're going to go into international markets.
Okay.
That's
really cool.
That's who we're talking to, is folks in regulated manufacturing industries. Could be pharmaceuticals, could be medical device, could be aerospace and defense. Semiconductors is a hot issue in New York as well right now, with the Micron coming online in a few years down the road, and the New York State Smart Eye Corridor, trying to develop all those semiconductor businesses along the thruway and so forth. So I see a tremendous opportunity here for us to help some of those firms meet their compliance requirements.
Absolutely. And how are you getting this into people's psyche and marketing this? Because it's very, sitting here and talking with you, it totally makes sense. And I don't have the manufacturing deep knowledge background, I would say, but everything that you've communicated really makes sense to me, that I would consider myself, not an expert. And but because it's something that maybe is a little bit hard to understand until you get the whole breakdown of what MOLI can do, what the benefits are, what are you doing that's getting it into places or getting people's attention?
I am always trying new things. We're trying to find the magic sauce, and I think a large portion of that is it's going to change periodically. It's not like you find one thing that works and you just can do it and do it and do it. It's been a lot of just direct sales lately. I rang a doorbell the other week, and just sort of, hey, I'm Steve Smith, Perdix Software. I work with manufacturers to cut costs, improve efficiency on the production floor. I want to talk to so-and-so. Is he available? That was like that's the only thing recently that's gotten any traction. Emails, everybody ignores.
I remember
emails.
You telling me about that.
Phone calls, everybody ignores phone calls. But if you show up at the front door and you have a reasonable thing to say,
a good book here that you can.
The book, that's brand new. That's like, I made that last week, put it all together, and I had these sell sheets and I had like little binder clips, and whenever I wanted to give somebody a little leave behind packet, I'm unclipping 12 different binder clips. I'm taking 12 different.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
So this way I can walk in, I can show them the front page at the door, the before and after. Once I get in, I've got a little pack of the sort of greatest hits of the binder that I can leave behind. We can have a conversation. And if they bring up something obscure, I can flip to the page about it.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I got that. I got that. And I remember you saying when that cold call, when you're knocking on doors, that, and correct me, but you're saying that person was like, normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm actually
I have this problem
right now. So come on in. What was his specific problem, and how did you just, there's serendipity, synchronicity, and it's just sometimes luck is involved, and
his problem was textbook MOLI. So he has a system that on the shop floor, the operators enter part counts on sheets of paper, and then somebody has to enter those into a system later. But that's only one part of the picture, because there's other places where those part counts are being entered.
Okay.
And he's like, I want to pull these all together so I can get a grasp on my total cost of quality. Like, it's great that you counted 2 scrap pieces, but the machine knows that it made 10 bad ones, and somebody else further on down the line had 10 more. And so how do we get all these different counts
There isn't
together?
like really a source of truth, or, there's what's the real,
right.
What's the real deal and all that.
And so that was the initial problem that sort of got me in the door. And then once I started saying, oh, well, you can also have a button on every screen that'll call for help. It's like, oh, well, that's great. Cause we usually have, we can't find the supervisor sometimes because they're helping somebody else, or they're having a break or whatever.
Right.
The machine's continuing to run, and maybe it's making bad parts or whatever. And okay, we can't find so-and-so.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So those are the improvements that you're outlining that will pay for themselves then, if when he's implementing that system, and then I imagine it's like, well, wait a minute, can you do this too? And that really, you're coming in and like, you are that like real solutions provider then.
Yeah. There's always sort of that beachhead problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like at our first customer, it was, the auditor was just here. He doesn't like these podiums. He says it's too cluttered on the production floor and it's not safe.
Okay.
And then I said, what if you just took everything on these podiums and put it on a touch screen?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, you can do that?
Oh, it's like, so there's the aha moment.
And so that was the aha moment for that customer.
Yeah.
And then for this customer, it was, you can do that too?
You do that too?
You can solve my problem, and you have...
Wow. Yeah. That's rewarding too, because you're seeing the reaction, you're bringing the value of it, and of like, oh, this is gonna solve that problem, and here's what else we can do in the periphery. So
then that helps to push the value over the cliff too, because if they're a little on the fence,
do I want to do this? This is we've been making it work. I could just see, like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the pushback that you give is like, hey, we've been doing this for 30 years. We're still around. We figure it out. We'll get by without this investment, this cost.
Yeah.
So I imagine that could be.
Well, that's why I position it as a cost cutting measure.
It's cost cutting.
Okay. We're saving you not only the labor time that you don't have to spend doing all the manual data reentry, but we're eliminating those mistakes that crop up because of the manual data entry. We're reducing the number of audits you have to have in a given year, because you can trust those audit results more. One of our customers had an 89% reduction in audits, that just the number of audits they have to do.
89%.
Yeah.
So what does that translate to in the value?
I mean, it's
like, what's their ROI?
It's hundreds of hours of, expensive people's time.
Yeah.
That, that internal audit team.
That was every year that they were going to. So
they had to audit every area more than once, because they weren't able to get a complete picture of all the data from any one place.
Okay. So those are the type of like case studies and bullet points that can grab people's attention and say, okay, let's talk about this. What has there been struggles, or even just, in your entrepreneurial journey, what points have been, man, am I doing the right thing? Like, what the hell am I doing?
That's every day when I wake up and I look at I'm like, oh, the sun is out again. Right?
What a way to start the day.
there's always that gut check when you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I can afford that brand of deodorant. No, I think entrepreneurship is in many ways the science of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You have this vision in mind, and that it's going to be huge, but until it's huge, there's a lot of ramen and a lot of, whatever you you do in your own life to cut costs.
For sure. For sure.
But I also, I would never do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do anything else. I'm not sure I know how to anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
becomes part of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's it's a grand way to put it. And it's, like, what else would you be doing?
Right.
What else? I don't know what else I'd be doing.
And, I joke about not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, but I'm not a morning person, right?
Yeah.
I get here most days at 11 or noon, and I'll work until 2 or 4 in the morning,
Yeah. It's just a different it's just a different shift. That's all. It's not like you're putting in the work.
And that helps, frankly, with manufacturing clients.
Yeah.
One of my handlers for a client was the C shift supervisor. And so we'd have meetings at like 2:30 in the morning. Just, like you walk into any business, you have a business meeting.
Yeah.
Except I was walking in there at 2:30 in the morning, and it was like the most normal thing in the world.
That's cool. And then, hey, maybe you can start doing some cold calls in those C shifts too.
I haven't thought of that.
There you go.
A good idea.
If you're up anyway, you catch the C shift manager, and
I think that you'd probably be the first salesperson in history to pay the C shift supervisor a visit.
And you know what? They might just have some time to chat.
They're probably not the decision maker, but they're probably next to this decision maker.
Yeah. And if you went through and lined it up right, that could be a good hey, if you're up anyway, why not? Either that or it could be the complete opposite situation where it's like the authorities are getting involved, be like, what is this guy doing here at 2:30 in the morning? Yeah. Because he has his binder.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. All right. You'll have to report back
on my lead list that I know run 3 shifts.
Yeah.
And
well, you know what?
See if they'll answer the door. At 2
see if they will, because they'll be like, wait a minute, this is a sales guy coming in at 2. And I tell you what, if I was a business owner and be like, wait a minute, there's a sales guy coming in at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And like, all right. And then when you call and it's like, all right, like, what are you like? I would just want to talk to you just to be like, what is your deal? Like, where are you coming in at like 2:30 in the morning?
I always dress like I belong there too. Like I don't wear a suit when I show up to a factory.
I think
it's just not appropriate.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be out of place.
I wear steel-toed boots and jeans and a shirt, often with my company logo on it, because that's what everybody inside that building is wearing. And I don't want to look like I don't belong there.
Right. And you have the boots, so you have the footwear and you can just put on the hard hat or whatever. If there is any other safety gear that you gotta put on your get up, and that's well, there you go. There's a new
3 a.m.
There's a new 3 a.m. sales call. That's this is like the alpha now. It's like people are just gonna start finding you better start doing it now. This is going to come out for a couple of weeks. So you have a window of like a head start of like the 4 people that are listening to this at 3 in the morning, and they have wait a minute, I want to get out and find these places.
Yeah. Well, there's not that many industries that are open at 3 in the morning, but it might work.
Yeah. Well, in manufacturing, I could see that you could easily probably determine if there is a C shift and then do a little find out who's running that.
Yeah. The key is like you got to make sure that there's something resembling a decision maker.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking like in the logistics industry, there's you might not have a more senior person there in the warehouse in the middle of the night, but you definitely do in manufacturing.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, there you go. And so when you're saying you don't know what else you do than this, and you're building this company, and what are some of the things that you really enjoy about building and being an entrepreneur? Like what are those joys to kind of mix with the oh man, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. The most satisfaction I get is when I walk into a place and I see people using what I've made and what my team has made. I've always had that sense of pride of like, starting back when I was the web developer at Nazareth, I'd walk into a computer lab or to a faculty office or something, and the homepage was the homepage. I was like, hey,
I did that.
It's got the new thing that worked for you. Good.
Cool. Yeah.
And so I was in our first customer, and I'm standing next to a machine, and they're explaining something to me, and an operator goes, "Excuse me," and then she walks over, and she I was in the way for her to use my product.
Oh, wow. And she had no idea.
She had no idea that I was the developer.
You were in the way.
Like, excuse me, I need to use this machine. And I just saw her walk up and go, boop, 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 and then walk away. And I was like, it's working.
It's working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just had to get out of the way so she could use it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like at that point, I was the only obstruction to success.
Physically speaking. Be like, hey, and I love that she had no idea, and she never would. It's just, it's just part of her workday, and being able to observe that, it's like observing, it's like in the wild, right?
Yeah.
Seeing.
So it's moments like that, that really, and I think that's a moment that people in manufacturing get to experience too. Like when they see a product they made in a store or in, being installed into somebody's body during surgery or whatever the product ends up in. That sort of pride of like, I made this thing and you're using it.
I was a part of that
to make something better.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Steve, thank you so much. This has been this has been an awesome conversation. I really enjoyed it. Check out MOLI. Check out Perdix software. It's Perdix.
Yep.
SW.com.
Correct. Or just MOLI.com.
Meet MOLI.com.
MOLI. Yep.
So MEETMOLI.com. And if you're a manufacturer, keep the light on for Steve when he shows up after midnight, and give him some coffee and let's see what he could do for your manufacturing floor. And Steve, thanks so much. Steve,
thank
this
you.
has been Steve Smith from
fun.
Perdix Software, and we're having fun talking about his product, MOLI.